This week saw various developments in the Pacific, from the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's three-nation visit to the security pact between the USA and Papua New Guinea, and finally NATO's plan to open a liaison office in Tokyo. It was an insightful week into the future of the Indo-Pacific, a future which looks rather bright, by the way, and that is something which could actually irk China quite a lot. Now, earlier this week, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi commenced his three-nation tour. He went to Japan, and then Papua New Guinea, and finally to Australia. The aim of his visit was to strengthen the ties between these partner countries. In Papua New Guinea, the third Indo-Pacific Islands Cooperation Summit was held. It was the first time that an Indian Prime Minister visited this island nation. The visit laid down the foundations of the most significant bilateral partnership, I guess, in the context of the Indo-Pacific. Also this week, a security deal between the USA and Papua New Guinea was locked. The agreement would allow for bilateral and multilateral exercises between the countries, and additionally, they also signed a second agreement to counter threats like illegal fishing and drug trafficking, with Papua New Guinea able to participate in the US Coast Guard's Ship Rider program. As we speak, Australia is also seeking to negotiate its own bilateral security treaty with Papua New Guinea, clearly a country that was very much in the headlines this week. This week also saw Japan talking about opening a liaison office in Tokyo, the first of its kind in Asia. The station will allow the military alliance to conduct periodic consultations with Japan and key partners in the region such as South Korea, Australia and New Zealand. Will be able to talk as China emerges as a new challenge. All of these plans were confirmed by both Japanese and by NATO officials. You see, all of these are significant movements that are taking place in the Pacific Ocean story and in the Indo-Pacific story. All of these are steps that are being done to keep Chinese aggression at bay, and it is looking as if they are starting to have a major impact. So do keep your eyes on the Indo-Pacific. But for us in India, perhaps the most notable images of the week from the Indo-Pacific were these, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi landed in Papua New Guinea, and he was greeted by the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea in this very Indian style, bending to touch his feet in a gesture of respect. Those are images that really made headlines in India and across the world. And to talk a little bit more about that, there was an exclusive interview given by the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea to my colleague Siddhant from WION. Let's just listen in to what the Prime Minister had to say to him.
The protocol, which was essentially broken when you received the Indian Prime Minister at the airport, and that traditional welcome, it has been the biggest story in India and something that has been very viral as well. What is your thoughts about that essentially, and what is the idea behind it? I mean, to follow that Indian tradition.
Well, firstly, it's not an exclusive Indian tradition. We come from a Melanesian society where we welcome elders with respect and give them respect where it is deserved. This sort of welcome is not an ordinary welcome. It's not an everyday welcome to a guest or visitor. As I said, my own society here at Papua New Guinea has over 800 different languages. Inside, we have their own associated cultural practices. And in few of my cultures, it's an ancient culture where we do bestow that level of respect to important elders who do visit tribal land, who do visit our society. And for me, as Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea, acknowledging that Prime Minister Modi is a senior person, Prime Minister Modi leads the biggest democracy by population in a top 5 economy. He could have completely ignored Papua New Guinea and Pacific and passed us by. For him to choose to spend almost a day with us here in Port Moresby, visiting Port Moresby, and to meet the Pacific Island leaders where I would be co-hosting that meeting with him, I felt it proper for me to receive him myself at the airport and give respect to a senior global statesman who was visiting Papua New Guinea for the first time.